Let's create the simplest calculator you can make in Python. We're simply going to take input from the user for the first number and for the second number, and then we're going to add the results. So let's start by creating a variable num1 and applying user input into it. Input, parentheses, quotation marks, enter a number. For the second number, we're going to do pretty much the same thing, just changing a few bits. And what we're going to do now, we're going to create the result variable. And it's going to be equal to num1 plus num2. And we're going to print it out. And this is already a functioning program. However, there's going to be a very visible problem in this. I'm going to show it to you right now. If we try to input numbers, for example, 5, and the second number 8.3, well, obviously the expected result of 5 plus 8.3 will be 58 plus 3, right? What happens actually over here is that Python on default is taking the user input and it's transforming it into a string. So what this over here does is we're actually adding the numbers, but as words. So we're adding the word, or the character rather, 5 to the characters 8.3. That's how we get 5, 8.3. So now if we want to actually do math on these inputs, we have to convert the user input into numbers. So there is two different functions you can use for that. The first one I'm going to show you is int, wrap it around both numbers. And what it is, it's an integer function which transforms the user input we gave it here into an integer, or an int, which is basically a whole number. Integers cannot have decimal points. They are just whole numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, and going further. You cannot have 1.1 as an integer. It will just not work. So let's run the program again now, and we can input the first number, 5, the second number, 9, and we're getting 14. It works just fine. However, if the user inputs, for example, 4, and then we try to input a number with a decimal point, like 4.9, Python's going to crash, because integers cannot have decimal points. They are only full numbers. So where you want the user to actually be able to input decimal points, instead of the integer, you're going to use the float function. So that's float. Let me just replace those. And the float is a number which can include decimal points, unlike integer. So if we run the program once more, enter a number, for example, 9, then 1.5, it's going to add these numbers, even if one of them or both of them have decimal places. It's going to make 10.5 just as expected. And yeah, this is the simplest calculator you can make in Python. Of course, you can change the operation to subtraction, division, multiplication, whatever you want. In the future, we're going to create more complicated calculators. However, for now, this is the very simplest calculator you can make, and it gives you some good practice on user inputs. And yeah, that's it. See ya.